cents, huh? Good, huh?
Yeah, it's no longer diesel color.
Yeah. So, as far as the green golf cart goes, rebuilt the carburetor. It still smells like it's fouling out plugs. I actually got one here that I pulled out of it, and you can't tell it on camera, but it's got fuel and stuff back in it. So what I read up on it, it says that it's got to be the carburetor is just filling up that bowl and basically just flooding it out and fouling out the plugs. So I tested out the fuel pump. It seems awful weak. It don't seem like it's really wanting to put fuel in there. But on the other side of that, almost all the fuel lines on there are either leaking fuel, cracked, something. So I ordered new fuel lines, ordered new carburetor, new fuel pump. We're going to try out the fuel lines next and see if maybe they ain't getting this air in the system. We'll try that out. If that don't work, then we'll throw the new carburetor and fuel pump on just to be safe. As far as the red one there goes, I don't even want to get started on that. That thing, it was supposed to be a simple project. Yes, I did get the mounting brackets made for the deck. It seems to be doing well. But the wiring is just so, and I'm not an electrical person. I'm not even really a mechanic. I just do this as a hobby. But it has a lot of wiring issues, and they're trying to figure out how this thing's gonna be wired up. I went ahead and took the fuel tank off, and that was a mess. Took the steering wheel off, just so I can get to the wiring, so I can get to the, I may have to order a new ignition starter for it, or ignition key starter for it, just so I can get to the wiring of it. So it's gonna take me a minute. I might even put that on the back burner. Finish the Husqvarna up. It's almost done. Finish that up. It's just got a little bit of things to go before it's ready to go. Still looking for an engine cover, but this for a piece of plastic is real expensive. I might just let it go like it is. Still got to look at the deck on the Husqvarna, but still, it probably just needs to be adjusted, blades sharpened, that kind of thing. But as y'all saw, it does run. You still need to get the mixture out of there that we put in there to let the compression build back up. But I don't know. Like I said, I'm not an electrical person, so it's gonna be a job, and I'm gonna have to get the ignition switch. I already know that. And I just found out this thing does not. It's an old lawnmower, it's an old metal lawnmower, but I just found out it does not have a solenoid. So where you positive goes to the battery, the other red wire goes to the solenoid. It does not have one of those. I got a funny feeling, and I could be wrong, but I got a funny feeling somebody put a newer type engine on there that recalls for a solenoid, and that's the reason why it's wired up the way it's wired up. Don't know. That engine looks awful new to be what it is. So, don't know. Tire's gonna be easy to fix. I gotta plug one to replace the valve stem in the other. But that's gonna be it for this weekend. I'll get back on next weekend. The Z71 took a lot of our freaking time. It was a whole nother headache. Gonna find out it's definitely not the rear main. It could leak a little bit, but all the oil is coming from the front, and I got a funny feeling it's the front main. And again, it's not my truck, it's my son's. He really don't want to mess with it, so we got it out of the shop. I got the starter put on it. Found out that the blue truck, I took it around a piece. Found out the blue truck actually has a fuel leak in its own, but that's an easy fix. It's coming from the fuel filter. It could be a line as well, but that's where it's coming from, is the actual fuel filter. A little small leak, no big deal on that. One thing of announcement, bit of news. I really want to get that extended cab in here. It's just sitting out there. I want to get it in here and see if the engine will even turn over. So once I get these out of here, because this one belongs to my neighbor, and that one I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, or the Husqvarna. Once I get them out here, extended cab's coming in, we're going to see if that thing's going to turn over. We might even actually do it outside because I already know it's set for a long time. We may have to put a little bit of juice in it just to get them rings and everything to soak that up. But we'll see. Again, I have a regular job to go to, so I was on vacation. Video of it just came out with the museum. That was pretty cool. So I did have time off, but then I got called into work and ended up working anyways. And then of course, these didn't want to be in here, so I really not got much done. But again, it's a hobby. It's just I try to get stuff done. All right, we'll see y'all next time. Please subscribe and like the videos on the channel. And again, there's merch. I don't have none on right now because I knew I was missing with stuff. But, just check out the merch on shadow13customs.com and check out the YouTube, and please like and share. Thank you.